Hey everybody, so with everything that's transpired in the past 2 months or so in My Hero Academia, and with the most recent cliffhanger causing all of us to run around frantically in circles for 2 weeks wondering what's gonna happen, I figure why not put out a theory video the day of spoilers just to see if maybe my theory pans out to be true. Now, the title of my video itself is a bit spoilery, so I'm not going to go in depth about said theory during the intro, so if you're not caught up on the most recent chapters of My Hero Academia and My Hero Academia Vigilantes, turn back now, because spoilers. But if you're hanging around to hear my theory, welcome. Be sure to hit that subscribe button for more theories and reviews, and if you want to become one of my regulars here at the bar, be sure to hit that notification bell as well. That way, you never miss a chance to live chat with me during the premiere. Now, let's head inside and grab ourselves a drink. Alright folks, welcome to the bar. So with the most recent chapter of My Hero Academia, we see that Deku has become a drone when it comes to apprehending villains. Additionally, in the past 2 chapters, we've seen that he's tossed aside All Might and the remainder of the pro heroes, going out on his own. Now this means a lot for Deku, because since the series started, he's been the type of guy to always ask for help when he knows that it's needed. I mean, he knew that Hosu was the place where Ida's brother Tensei was attacked by the hero killer, so when he went out on his own to take down Stain, Deku knew that his friend was going to be emotionally compromised in that situation. And before even engaging the hero killer, Deku went out of his way to provide a message to his fellow students that he was about to get into some shiesty shit. Because arrogant decisions like this aren't uncommon in My Hero Academia, because for all intents and purposes, when it came to retrieving Bakugo, Deku was ready to go by himself and retrieve his friend during the All for One arc. And that brings me to today's theory, the possibility of Deku versus Bakugo Part 3, or in this case, Deku versus Dynamite. So let's not spend any more time here at the bar. Let's head over to the wall and break down this theory some more. Alright, so yeah, I think that it's a sincere possibility that the third fight between Bakugo and Deku will occur in the next chapter. See, the first fight went to Deku, and that was way back in Season 1. And the second fight went to Bakugo. So, with the most recent cliffhanger to Chapter 318, we see that Bakugo has finally found Deku and is now getting ready to confront him. And before we even continue forward in this theory, let's take stock of Deku's mental state at this moment, because to me at least, the light in his eyes represented his hope, his willingness to be a hero. Now that he's so overwhelmingly strong, he just looks bored in every single panel that he's in. In a way, he kind of reminds me of Saitama from One Punch Man, because when Dictator overwhelms him, he just kind of lays there and is like, dude, monologue all you want. After this, I'm gonna rip every single one of you apart. It's only until Bakugo shows up, he opens up his eyes and is like, oh my god, Bakugo is here. And the entire time too, the past successors of One for All were all saying that he needs his anchor point to reappear to help restructure him. Because as of right now, Deku is acting like a sheer force of nature. But now let's think about this situation right here from Bakugo's point of view. Bakugo has established himself to be the type of character that gets really pissed off when he finds out that he's been excluded from things. He was cut in on the secret of One for All before everybody else, so he more or less feels an obligation to protect his friend. I mean, in the previous arc, Bakugo pretty much almost gave his life for Deku. Like, just think about Bakugo's character real quick, because once upon a time, he told the main character of this story to go kill himself. Now, he's standing above him with arguably one of the most serious looks we've ever seen him have in this entire series. This look right here is the look of, what are you doing? We said that we were gonna go at this together. We said that we weren't going to do stuff like this anymore. And now I find out that you don't even come back from the dorms after the hospital. You just leave and think of me as an afterthought? That's how Bakugo must be thinking. And above all, Bakugo does not like to think that he's holding everybody back, because you know for a fact that's how Deku is currently feeling. Deku's thought process has to be that the students of 1A, if they were with him during this entire debacle, they're just liabilities. So in my personal opinion, if you think that Deku's gonna be like, oh hey Kachan, why don't you just come help me out instead? You're wrong. Deku has been ripping apart every single one of All for One's hired guns easily, so why would he start accepting help now? And that's when I think the tipping point of the chapter is gonna come, and we're gonna have Bakugo versus Deku Part 3. Bakugo needs to knock some sense into Deku, because right now, he's watching his friend more or less go on a suicide mission. While on the other hand, Deku's hero complex has him taking the entire weight of the world and putting it on his shoulders. And like I said earlier, he actually decided that every single one of the people that at one point or another has helped him out is just a straight up liability, which is messed up, and it's gonna be weird to see the dynamic shift between these two characters. In a way, this is kind of the My Hero Academia iteration of the Sasuke retrieval arc. Instead, it's the Deku retrieval arc when you think about it. Because this confrontation between Deku and Bakugo has to evolve into Deku regaining his alignment and going back to realizing his true goal of being a hero. Because right now, Deku sees it as if the kids from UA follow him around, they're just in jeopardy of being killed or having their quirks stolen. But the thing is, this calculated risk that they're all taking, it's what they signed up for when they all decided to become heroes. So who is Deku to decide that they don't get a say in any of this? Because if anything right now, Deku is acting the most selfish out of every single one of them. Class 1A doesn't want to see their friend die, and I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they even went out behind the backs of UA to go investigate Deku, because the minute that the rumors hit the street of some guy with multiple quirks taking out villains, everybody at UA knew exactly who it was. And I am just waiting for this confrontation between these two characters, because it's probably going to take a little bit before one of the other students show up on scene. I mean, logically, the third person on scene should be Ida, considering, you know, Speedster. I could totally see Ida speeding in and being like, Bakugo and Deku are currently fighting. And this is the first time that we're going to be watching this fight, and I hate to say it, but we kind of want Deku to lose because he's coming off like an antagonist. I mean, after chapter 318, he's stacking up W after W, so I think that he needs to lose this fight, because right now, he needs to learn that every single one of his friends has his back. And not to be too cheesy, but his overwhelming sense of do it on your own needs to be squashed by his friends, because like One For All, Class 1A is his one for all as well. And I'm telling you right now, Bakugo is not going to react to this situation very well, which is why I'm pretty sure that it's going to result in a confrontation between the two. Because if Deku beats Bakugo, it's gotta come down to a talk no jutsu from Ochako. She's gonna have to appear and really talk Deku off the bridge. Because Deku is a full-fledged hero at this point. He has 100% control of One For All. I mean, the guy is even being referred to as an urban legend. And to the kids of Class 1A, this is not their friend. This is not the person that they've been going to school with for the past year and a half, and it's not, well, it's not this guy. Now, personally, I think that this is amazing writing on Horikoshi's part. He's essentially taking what we would all consider the best part of Naruto and taken his characters and thrown them into that type of dynamic. I mean, the way that Horikoshi wrote Bakugo to begin with, in the beginning, we thought that he was going to be the guy to leave UA and go out and do whatever it is on his own. Now, he's the guy that's remaining at UA, and he's watching his best friend go out and essentially cast everybody aside. Now, in comparison to the two series, Bakugo is actually the Naruto of this situation, and the Sasuke of this situation is Deku. Because Bakugo now sees that it's time to knock some sense into his best friend. And like Naruto, he doesn't care if he has to break every single bone in Deku's body to bring him back. He will bring him back. Now I'm gonna go ahead and say that this cliffhanger is arguably one of my favorite cliffhangers in the entire series, because who knows what's gonna happen, and I know that the leaks are gonna be dropping tonight sometime, so by tomorrow morning everybody will know whether or not Deku vs. Bakugo Part 3 will actually happen. But I have to say that they are certainly setting it up for it to happen. I mean, I hate just to sound like a broken record here, but there is no way that Deku is just gonna be like, oh yeah, I'll come back to UA now. It's gonna take the entirety of his class to knock some sense into him, because right now, he feels pretty alone in this crusade. Think about it. He's been conversing with 7 voices in his head, and they themselves are starting to question how far he's pushing himself. So there's really only one course of action here. Bakugo needs to beat the shit out of Deku. The thing is, will he even be strong enough to hold up to Deku? And if that's the case, the Bakugo vs. Deku Part 3 might become Deku vs. Class 1A. Because we've seen Deku take down villain after villain after villain, but right now, the way that he looks, he kinda looks like the main antagonist of the series. And the definition of antagonist isn't just an evildoer. It's someone who stands in the way of the status quo's shift, an adversary. And depending on which point of view you look at this shift from, you can call either Bakugo or Deku the antagonist. Because Deku isn't a villain now. but I've said this several times, he's an unchecked vigilante. Because UA and the heroes may know about his shenanigans, but if the police catch wind that there's a student who acquired their provisional license within the first year of education, now out and about wrecking villains, we learned in Vigilantes that paperwork and following proper channels of apprehension are what separates heroes from vigilantes. So if you're going around taking out villains left and right and leaving them behind, that's vigilantism, not hero work in this universe. So for all we know, the next part of My Hero Academia could be Class 1A confronting the known vigilante, Deku. And in all honesty, we'll have to see how this one plays out, cause the departure from the usual song and dance over the past couple of months has been really refreshing. And watching the anime in conjunction to reading the manga, I can't help but think that it really did at one point or another fall into the same old song and dance. It wasn't until My Villain Academia that the series really starts to begin its shift towards a more dynamic Western style type of series, because since we're so rooted in the fact that this is a manga, we tend to forget that a lot of Horikoshi's references are rooted in Western comics. That's why the series has taken the direction to slim down Deku's supporting cast, with some of the best stories being written when heroes are just left to their own devices. So by letting Deku go and do things on his own, it helps us, the reader, understand his mental state more, because since he has no supporting cast, essentially all that we get are his inner thoughts. And this is why sometimes I really like to draw parallels between My Hero Academia and Western comics, and I like to say that sometimes it really doesn't translate well into cartoon/anime/live action. Because if you pick up one Batman comic, you'll realize that 80% of the time he's just talking to himself trying to navigate the mystery. Now imagine the new Batman movie, but instead of him interacting with Commissioner Gordon and Alfred, instead he just sat on a rooftop talking to himself. In comics and manga, it slides, but in live action/animation, it really won't. So it begs to be questioned that when it comes time for this particular arc to get animated, how will they go about Deku's monologuing? Anyway, before I stray too far away from the main topic, I really do think that it's a sincere possibility that Deku versus Bakugo will happen. There aren't many characters out there who can actually knock some sense into our boy, but if Class 1A does show up to show their support and let him know that he's not alone, he's the type of character that will stand down and just break down into tears. I mean, this is the guy that was a crybaby when the series first started, and now he's just a dry-eyed husk. So I think it would be poetic justice if someone like Bakugo and the remainder of Class 1A help bring back our boy and help him realize that he's not going to be alone in this crusade. One for all means everybody works together, so our boy needs to stop thinking that he's so alone. It's not all for one. But look, if you agree with my theory and think that a fight between Bakugo and Deku is nigh, leave it in the comments down below. And if I'm wrong, man, I really feel like they missed an opportunity here. There's really only so many times throughout the series that Horikoshi is going to be able to organically pin Deku against Bakugo, so if there were a chance, this is it. And hopefully they bang out, man. And I guess with leaks we'll find out in only a matter of time. But be sure to check back to see if my theory panned out, and I'll catch y'all later. Cheers.